On behalf of the families here to honor their loved ones lost to an overdose, I thank you for entrusting our community to share that love and loss. Tonight's event is the result of the efforts of a regional initiative of the Greater New Bedford Opioid Task Force, the Fairhaven Opioid Task Force, and is the inaugural event of Dartmouth's Advocates for Addiction, Recovery, and Treatment. Organizers of this event are all over the field tonight, but can be recognized by wearing their purple t-shirts. Please look for anyone in these purple t-shirts to answer any of your questions or point you in the right direction. Tonight is an evening to remember without stigma those who have died from an overdose and acknowledge the grief of the family and friends left behind. To officially open our night, I'd like to call your attention to the flagpole in the end zone. Dolores Joseph, Dartmouth's youth advocate and co-chair of the DART Task Force, along with Tuesday DeRocha, the force behind holding this event in Dartmouth, will raise the official overdose awareness flag. Thank you, Shane, for the assist on that. The flag will continue to fly throughout September, marking Recovery Month as well. I am Heidi Silverbrooks, Chair of DART, member of the Dartmouth Select Board, and someone impacted by addiction, recovery, and loss. We will begin tonight's event with a message from the City of New Bedford. I welcome Stephanie Sloan, New Bedford's Health Director.
As the New Bedford Health Director and the co-chair of the Greater New Bedford Opioid Task Force, I want to thank you all deeply for coming out tonight to honor your loved ones. It's by coming together like this with our friends, our neighbors, across communities that we will end stigma. Mayor John Mitchell sends his regrets, but asked me to read an official proclamation. It reads, "Drug overdose continues to be a major public health issue in the United States, with over 105,000 people nationwide dying from overdose in 2022. Opioid-related overdose deaths alone accounted for more than 2,300 deaths in Massachusetts in 2022, and the opioid epidemic worsens existing health disparities as overdose rates rose the most severely among non-Hispanic Black men, according to the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. The City of New Bedford has identified opioid overdose as a public health priority. The New Bedford Health Department and the New Bedford Police Department jointly established the Greater New Bedford Opioid Task Force, comprised of many community-serving organizations, police departments, treatment and recovery agencies, among others dedicated to reducing opioid overdoses in the community and addressing the health disparities that persist among affected populations. First responders, including police, fire, EMS, are trained to identify signs of overdose and have on many occasions administered life-saving treatment to people experiencing opioid overdoses. Effective collaboration among first responders, community-serving organizations, healthcare providers, and residents is crucial to addressing opioid use disorder. Now, therefore, I, Mayor John Mitchell, Mayor of the City of New Bedford, do hereby proclaim August 30th, 2023 as Overdose Awareness Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. As many will tell you, there are no coincidences. Here we stand in Dartmouth's Memorial Stadium. This stadium is dedicated to the veterans killed in action. Tonight, We are here to memorialize those who have been killed in the war of addiction. Tonight's speakers have been chosen for their connection to this battle. Attorney General Andrea Joy Campbell has sent Matthew Gifford, Director of Partnerships in the Community Engagement Division, and Jarasi Kapazta, Community Engagement Coordinator for Southeastern Mass Office, to deliver her message.
I also want to thank the organizers, the families, the community partners, and anyone who had a hand in making today's important event happen. I especially want to thank Dolores Joseph for being so kind and inviting us to provide a few words on behalf of our office and the Attorney General. This week, we not only uplift the memory of those who have tragically lost their battle to substance misuse and addiction, but also to express our gratitude to those in our communities who work every day to raise awareness. Attorney General Campbell understands that this crisis requires not only the efforts made by our office through the legal system against the bad actors who are responsible and who are trying to profit from these tragedies, but also through awareness and prevention efforts to foster a supportive environment for individuals and their families on their journey to recovery. We also remember that overdose awareness is not just a day, but a continuous and collective effort to spread knowledge, combat stigma, and build a healthier and more compassionate community for all. So in closing, the most important message that I want to deliver on behalf of the Attorney General and our office to your communities is this: our doors are open, our resources are available. Our hearts are invested in ensuring that anyone who is seeking help gets it. So thank you to everyone who has contributed to building awareness for your work in the community, and let us continue to stand together in our shared message to save lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. My name is Dolores Joseph, and I am the Vice Chair of DART, and I'm also the Youth Advocate for the town of Dartmouth. I would like to say thank you to the following elected officials who have joined us tonight, and we hope that they continue to use their power to support the efforts of those battling addiction in recovery and honor those who have lost this battle. I would like to recognize from Representative Tony Cabral's office, Dina Abu. Okay, thank you. Oh, she's with the little one. Also from Senator Montigny's office, Michael Jackman. Okay. Councilman Shane Burgo from New Bedford. Dartmouth Select Board Member Dave Tattlebaum. And also Dartmouth Town Administrator Sean McInnes. For those who may have missed, I apologize, but please know that we appreciate you showing up today. Next, I'm going to introduce a man who really needs no introduction to this audience, Reverend David Lima.
I am Reverend David Lima. I'm the Executive Minister of the Interchurch Council. I pastor a small church out in East Freetown that's full of spirit, but more so, I am a person who has lived my whole life in this area and care deeply for it. I'm also the chaplain for the New Bedford Police Department, and we have been working tirelessly as a community. There's no one group that can solve the issues that we're dealing with today, and especially for those that have dealt with substance use disorder, those who have had overdoses the difficulties that we have, we've known that for years there's been a variety of ways that we have attacked, quote unquote, the problem. Everything from the war on drugs to arresting everybody who has anything to do with anything, including use. And it was acceptable by everybody to everybody, but we've come to recognize and understand that that doesn't solve the problem. We have to be able to build relationship. We have to be able to build bridges, because nobody aspires when they get up in the morning or when they're a child to live in addiction, to end up poor in chasing the next fix, the next high, to end up homeless, broken home, and difficulties that go along with this. Nobody aspires to that. It's because of situations, everything from mental health and people using, with undiagnosed mental health issues, they're self-medicating. You do have those of us who have been recreational and got caught, but you also had those who went to the doctor and ended up being prescribed something and ended up being dependent and then addicted. New Bedford Police Department back in 2015 piloted a program where we were going out to everybody that overdosed that the police department had responded to. That was a program piloted by a collaboration with Seven Hills, the police department, and the faith community. And it was unique in that it would send out not only a resource counselor, a police officer, but also a chaplain. Because not everybody receives assistance in the same way. And for many, it's that place of faith that's rooted deep down on the inside them. But some, it's not the place of faith, it's the counselor. And the one thing that I've really come to admire, as we've seen the officers that have led these programs, they become vested and understanding that it's not about arresting our way out of the problem, but actually reaching and touching lives and helping people understand we're here to help you. We want to get you to a place where you can be free from this which holds you down. And we want to not come to celebrate together, to worship together. I'm using all kinds of different words that we would want to be using, but we can't, because tonight we're here, in essence, to remember and to mourn those we've lost. Those who are part of our family, part of our work, school, part of our community. They're part of us. Thereby, the grace of God could go us. And so it takes every one of us to help make the change. And we can make the change. We can turn the tide if we all work together. Collaboratively, understanding that each person's life is valuable. Each person needs to be reached. And I can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. He can't do it alone, but we can do it together. Let's bow our heads for a moment of prayer. Father God, as we come here tonight, we come with heavy hearts. We come to support those that we know who have lost a loved one. We come to remember and not let anybody forget that there is a battle in the physical and a battle in the spiritual, a battle of the mind and a battle of the heart. We are here to save lives. We are here to turn people around. We are here to walk alongside them and not lecture them, to hold their hand and to even at times hold their head and say, we care and we want you to live. We want you to be free. We want you a part of us so that you can be a part of our community again. Lord, we thank you for this. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Reverend Lima. And before I move forward, I need to apologize. In my haste to recognize elected officials that showed up today, I misspoke. I do know Mike Jackman very well. It's Representative Bill Keating's office, so I wanted to make that correction on air. International overdose awareness events are held across the world on August 31st. We chose to meet tonight to call attention to the crisis happening in our region, in our community, thus allowing each of us to take this message beyond these boundaries tomorrow. the international organization, has chosen the 2023 theme to recognizing those people who go unseen by acknowledging people in our communities who are affected by overdose but might go unseen in the crisis. To honor our regional first responders, I ask Brian Rose, who is representing District Attorney Thomas Quinn's office, to come forward.
Thank you, Dolores. Thank you, Mrs. Brooks. Great seeing you. And it is definitely tough to follow Reverend Lima because the words he spoke really do hit home. I had this speech written out. I'm not even going to read it because, again, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's the people in the trenches. It's the people working tirelessly day and night to try to make a difference. And we're trying to do it on our own. We're trying to collaborate. I think it's going to take everybody to come together. Everybody has to come together to make a difference. And it's just amazing the words that you spoke, Reverend Lima. And again, from the District Attorney's office, we're going to pass out citations for believe in supporting this community. And this is where I grew up. Growing up here in Dartmouth, very fortunate to have a loving family. I'm now raising one of my own, and I cannot even fathom what would happen if one of my children, if something like that happened. And I know Tuesday, your story is coming up next, and it's just heartbreaking what you had to have dealt with. And I'm just, it breaks my heart. It really does that families have to go through this and the long road that it takes. But if the effort is there and the collaboration is there, I think we can make a difference. And I think that's the key. So again, through the DA's office, Tom Quinn's office here, be it known that the District Attorney of Bristol County hereby extends its congratulations to the Acushnet, and again, I'm going to name a bunch of service providers here, people that are in the trenches doing it day in, day out, making a difference in our community, and the only thing that we can do is support them and do this with the recognition of their extraordinary work done to address the opioid epidemic in our community, and make it further known that the District Attorney of Bristol County extends his best wishes for this continued success. So first up is the Acushnet Police Department. The Acushnet Fire Department. And we also have the Acushnet EMS. I've seen some of my friends over here, but here's the Dartmouth Police Department. The Dartmouth Fire Department. And the Dartmouth EMS. We have the Dighton Health Department. The Fairhaven Police Department. The Fairhaven Fire Department. And the Fairhaven EMS. The Fairhaven Post-Overdose Outreach Team. Mattapoisett Police and EMS. The New Bedford Police Department. The New Bedford Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program, also known as LEAD. The New Bedford Fire Department. And lastly, but definitely not least, the New Bedford EMS. Thank you, everyone, and please keep up the outstanding work.
We owe a debt of gratitude to first responders who have seen too many deaths, have had to notify too many loved ones, and continue to enter every shift with the desire to make a difference, save a life, give someone a chance to find recovery. We thank you. The call, the knock on the door that no one wants, has been answered by two moms who have helped us organize this event. Paula Young Santos, mother of Andrew, is unable to attend tonight due to her own personal illness. Our next speaker, artwork, is on more windows than we can count. Those happy images continue to help her healing journey. Without Tuesday, this event would not be here in Dartmouth. As a resident of Dartmouth, it was important to her that we offer this event in this town to remind the residents that this tragedy knows no boundaries. Thank you, Tuesday, for your courage. Tuesday has answered the knock twice, losing two sons, Caleb and Maxwell, who she has hung photos of on the wall behind us. Too young to be gone. Tuesday?
Thank you all so much for showing up today. It means more than you could ever know. I'd like to start with a poem that I wrote a few mornings ago for my sons. There were mornings much like this. I rose before the dawn, not by choice, mind you, but little voices calling, "Mama, Mama." I'd stumble bleary-eyed and sleep-deprived into a room, toys strewn about, a Lego here, a dino there, and outstretched dimpled arms would reach for me. Sleep be damned. Those dimpled hands in mine, yes, mine. What luck, what joy. One to my right with golden hair, a grin so wide and sleepy-eyed, and to my left, my heart would heft, my fire-headed, fire-tempered boy. Those days went on, and some would say, "It passes fast, enjoy these days." And I'd laugh at such a thought, for then the days were long, filled with things like diaper changes, bubbled baths, and refereeing. Those Bethany boys, they could test a saint. But oh, what I'd give for one more day, no, one more hour, no, even one more minute. I'd wake at dawn without so much as a yawn, and I'd run down the hall, swing wide that door, and there I'd sit upon the floor, my arms wrapped round my golden boy and my fire-headed son, and oh, to hear once more, "Mama, Mama." William Shakespeare said, "Give sorrow words, the grief that does not speak, whispers over fraught heart and bids it break." And the Bible says, "Weeping may last for a night, but joy comes in the morning." Psalm 30, verse 5. I've wrestled this week with what to share today. I've gone back and forth with stepping down and not telling my grief story. Sometimes I'm so afraid to talk about it because I feel like I may lose my mind if it's true. But it's true. It's so very true. On March 5th, 2017, my life was changed forever. Our son Caleb, who would have been 30 today, overdosed. He was living in a sober house at the time. The call came at 6 a.m., waking me in a panic. All we knew at that point was that he'd overdosed, and for a few minutes I held out hope that he was okay. But then there was the knock at the door, and there stood a young police officer. As he said, "I'm sorry," I just remember saying over and over, "I knew it, I knew it, I knew it." Caleb didn't deserve to die that way. He'd gone to a friend's house to hang out with some friends from high school. He loved his friends, and I'm sure he was just so happy to be there. Sometime during the evening, drugs were brought in. Whatever Caleb thought he was taking turned out to be pure fentanyl. I've learned since to live with my grief, and my life has somehow formed around it. I'm not the same as I was before, and I miss my son Caleb every day. I miss his laugh, his smile, his big Caleb bear hugs. On March 14th, 2023, just a few months ago, again at 6 a.m., I woke to several missed calls from my son's girlfriend, Laura. In a panic, I called her back, and she answered, screaming that she couldn't wake him up. I jumped in the car, and I flew to the Cape, screaming and praying to God to save him. She called me and said they'd brought him to the hospital and to go there, and I thought, oh, he's okay then. I'll go to Laura and the kids, and I'll deal with Max later. When I got to her house, there were several police officers there, and they were going over what had happened. Laura and I, we stepped aside so that we could talk privately, and a few minutes later, an officer came up to us, and my heart just dropped. "I'm so sorry," he started to say, and I started to scream and cry, and I said, no, not my Maxie too, and I banged on the counter. How can a mother survive the greatest loss twice? There was no way I could do this, and yet here I stand, sometimes just barely. Some days, like today, I want to crawl back in bed and sleep the day away. Some days I want to scream and tell their story, our story, and sometimes I want to raise my fist and I want to fight. I fight this demon who steals fathers and mothers from their children. I fight for moms like me who buried their children way before their time. Today is a day to remember those lost to overdose. It's also a day to remember how my boys wanted to live. My boys wanted nothing more than to live a normal life free of drugs. They fought like hell to the end, and I'll fight for them now. I've survived these days because of my faith in God, and some would ask, how can I still believe? And I would ask, how can I not? Because if what I know to be true about heaven is real, then I'll see my sons again. And someday I'll step into heaven and I'll hear my favorite word, Mama, and I'll hold my boys once again. Thank you.
Trying to get myself together. Thank you, Tuesday. Thank you for sharing. Our final speaker, Stephen Murray, is an overdose researcher and harm reduction program manager at Boston Medical Center. He retired at the rank of lieutenant at a large regional ambulance service in Western Massachusetts and has served as a first responder since 2013, working both as a firefighter and paramedic. He regularly shares for a national audience about his lived experience as a person who uses drugs and overdose survivor. In 2020, he founded the Never Use Alone New England Hotline, now the Massachusetts Overdose Prevention Helpline, a free overdose detection and response hotline for people who use drugs, and currently is the director of the program. Stephen provides expert technical assistance around the topics of overdose prevention, emergency medical service, and harm reduction to a variety of organizations, government agencies, and academic institutions. Please welcome Stephen.
Good evening, everyone. It's always hard to follow a really emotional story, and I'm also finding myself as the person standing between all of us and dinner, so bear with me for a second. I'm really grateful to be here tonight. I'm so glad that you have this event on the 30th. It allows me to hit more than one place, and I'm really thankful to Carl Alves and to Reverend Lima for hosting me here. And Also really thankful. I work with a lot of great partners here in this area, including Connie and Peter and their team at Seven Hills. Hi, Peter. And I also want to thank my wife and kids for coming and for being my support. Actually, I have 3 of my 5 here, so 60% we're doing well. As Carl actually, as she had mentioned in the introduction, my name is Stephen Murray. I'm a paramedic and I'm a retired lieutenant. Currently serve as the Harm Reduction Program Manager at Boston Medical Center. I'm the founder and director of the Massachusetts Overdose Prevention Helpline. If you've been around for a while, you may have heard of Never Use Alone. We were the Massachusetts branch that had started right when COVID began. And we provide a 24-hour service for people who are using drugs alone. And if they become unresponsive on the call, one of our operators will activate the 911 system for them. This year, we've supervised more than 500 use events, so people have used 500 times on the phone with us, and we've had 4 overdoses that were successfully reversed. And those that here that know me know that I have some pretty strong opinions and beliefs on how we end overdose, but tonight I really want to just talk a little bit about the backward part of this journey. There's not a single person here who has not been touched by overdose in some way. I'm a multiple overdose survivor myself, and I'm incredibly lucky to be alive today. I've lost many friends from my days in treatment, had folks overdose, whose overdoses I reversed, only to lose them in the days, weeks, or the months later. Everywhere I turn, I find myself confronted by death. An overdose is not the only way that people who use drugs die, and I want to acknowledge that suicide, homicide, domestic violence, traumatic injury, sepsis, myocarditis, and cancer have taken the lives of people that I love who use drugs, and I want to honor their memory as well. These losses both cripple me on days like today, and they also drive me to work harder on, starting next month. I also feel the secondary loss from all of you, and hearing Tuesday's story is no exception. I work with the harm reduction programs all over the state and around the country, and all we hear about all day long is people losing their colleagues, their friends, their participants, and it has a really profound impact on me. Our nation takes one day a year to grieve those losses, which is tomorrow, but many of us grieve every single day, and this takes a massive toll on us and on our workforce. As a paramedic, I'm really honored to speak at this event where so many first responders were honored and being recognized for their service. I walked a similar path. I know how difficult it is being directly involved in this crisis and how that may have impacted you. Like you, I've told parents that their son or daughter is dead. Like you, I've told kids that their parents are dead. Like you, I've told spouses that their partners are dead. I'll never forget the first fatal overdose I ever responded to. It was a young father lying in a bed of his children's shoes in their mudroom. And even though I never saw the kids, it was late at night, I knew they were asleep upstairs. Not only do we see the loss of life in this job, we see the immediate ripple effects it has on the community and the family. And a lot has changed for us since I first started in EMS. We used to be the primary responders to overdose. We would go to, in one weekend, 40 overdoses, and we would get 38 saves, and that really felt good. But that has really shifted, and thanks to robust naloxone distribution, I was walking around the tables today. I noticed how many folks are giving out naloxone. It's really important. It's really shifted who responds to overdose primarily to people who use drugs, their friends, and their family. And unfortunately, for us, that means that our role as law enforcement and EMS is that we're showing up when it's too late more often than when we were doing it before. And so not having that sense of bringing people back all the time has really compounded the grief that we're feeling. If I've learned one thing as a paramedic, it's that people who die from overdose often have somebody close by who may have been able to respond if they had known that person was in danger. But with so much stigma around active use, so much emphasis on treatment, on recovery, and abstinence, many do not know or do not let the people who love them know that they're using or they're using again. This shame kills our families. We must fight to push back on this with love and with compassion, and try our best to provide safe spaces for our loved ones to use where we can respond in case of an overdose. And if you're not able to do that, at least help get them onto a hotline like ours so that we can help and call for help if they overdose. If you have a friend who's struggling, instead of being there like, hey, I'd like to be there on a day that you're sober, try saying, hey, I'd like to be there for you on a day that you're not. And like, how can I be for you on the day that you're not? How can I keep you safe? I don't share this as a criticism of those who haven't done this in the past. I'm also really guilty of this, and part of my survivor's guilt as someone who still works in this field is that I feel like there were so many opportunities that I missed to reach out to somebody who was still using and to say to them that like I would be there for them. And that really drives what I do with the hotline, and I love taking calls. It's like the best feeling in the world. But this is a call to action to make a dent in this crisis through accepting that people use drugs. We know that. They deserve autonomy on what they do with their bodies, and above all, they deserve safety. To those here who may be using or may use again in the future, I just want you to know that you don't need to stop using for me to care about your life and your safety. Please reach out so I can spot you if you're using alone. No one needs to know. I spot a lot of people in the harm reduction world, happily. Let this day also serve as a reminder to all of us to take care of ourselves. I'm saying this out loud for all of our benefits, including myself. We can only continue on if we find ways to rest, to grieve, and to process. It's okay to take some time to do that. We need you. I need you to stay in this fight. Thank you again for having me, and enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you.
On behalf of the organizers of this event, I thank all of you for coming here tonight to celebrate your loved one's life, to remember their smiles, their personalities, and take comfort in our shared grief. I thank the team of organizers for taking an idea and making it happen. Before you leave tonight, please decorate a luminary bag to honor your loved one. As I've said before, the craft table is in front of the home stands, which is the other side of the field. I thank the Dartmouth girls field hockey team for joining us tonight and serving as our runners. Thank you, girls, and good luck this season. I also invite you to visit the DCTV tent at the far side of the field and memorialize your loved one on video. And I also encourage you to visit the various resource tables located along the perimeter of the field. These resource tables offer everything from Narcan to housing connections to individual and group supports. The following resources are here for you tonight. The Fishing Partnership Support Services. An uptick in men and women in the fishing industry was noticed, and they have joined together to combat that crisis. Bristol County District Attorney's Office, the Town of Dartmouth Outreach Team, High Point Treatment Center, Child and Family Services, VivFen, Fall River New Bedford Recovery Connection Center, Health Imperatives, MORE, which stands for Massachusetts Organization for Addiction Recovery, AdCare Hospital, CCBC, Community Counseling of Bristol County, Stepping Stone Incorporated, the New Bedford Community Health, Bristol County Healing Communities Coalition, the City of New Bedford, the New Bedford Health Department, RISE Recovery Support Center, PACA, which stands for Positive Action Against Chemical Addiction. Sorry about that. Fairhaven Community Outreach, Fairhaven EMS, Healthcare Resource Centers, NAACP New Bedford Branch, Learn to Cope, STAR, United Interfaith Action of Southeastern Massachusetts, the New Bedford Police Department LEAD program, and the Women's Center. Thank you all for being here, and those of you who are here tonight, please make sure you go by those resource tables, take their cards. You never know when you will need them. If you need Narcan, Narcan is here tonight. And while we are on that message, with the rise of folks feeling like they can use marijuana because, hey, it's legal, keep in mind that the marijuana that they may be using, that they may be buying from a friend, sharing with a coworker, may not be purchased in a facility, which now are throughout the Commonwealth, that has regulations. It may be from someone on the street. And sadly, like Bethany, like Tuesday stated about her son, laced with fentanyl, it is a killer. Whether or not you are an addict or a recreational drug user, that time could be your last time using. So please make sure, if for any reason you feel that there may be someone that you can help with a dose of Narcan, please make sure you stop by the tables and get it. Please make sure you're talking to your loved ones about looking for other ways for that natural high. Thank you to everyone for being a part of this event, to our sponsors, the organizers of this event, now dubbed the first annual New Bedford Regional Overdose Awareness Event. We could not have done it without you. I just want to thank Alexis Faraday from Clean Slate, April Funches, Bethany Vieira from South Coast Behavioral, Carl Alves from PACA, Connie Rocha Mimosa from Seven Hills, Deb Kelsey from the Fishing Partnership Support Services, Jenny Verd from Fishing Partnership Support Services, Karen McDonald from the New Bedford Health Department, Luz Ortez from the New Bedford Health Department, Stephanie Harrington Sloan from the New Bedford Health Department, Kelly Marks from South Coast Health, Kristen Kaiser Gifford from Street Treatment Center, Leda Rodericks, Michaela Manzone from AdCare, Natasha Patricio from the New Bedford Police Department, Sergeant Mike Bouvier from the Fairhaven Police Department, Paula Santos from Achieve Greatness, Stephanie Telfair from Child and Family Services, Talise Henderson from the New Bedford Community Health Center, Tara Pacheco from High Point Treatment Centers, Tuesday DeRocha, Tyson Gordon All Care, and wait a minute, where is our girlfriend Joya?
And Joya.
And Joya, who purposely didn't put her name on here. Joya, thank you very much. I also want to thank the town of Dartmouth, the school department of Dartmouth, who worked together to make sure that we had all we needed today. Thank you for your support. May our loved ones know that they have not been forgotten, and may they aid us in our fight to end stigma and end this war. Thank you. Well, special thanks, first of all, goes out to Tuesday DeRocha, a resident of Dartmouth and someone who has lost 2 sons to overdose. And Tuesday came to myself and Dolores Joseph, the youth advocate, and said there are regional events on overdose awareness on the 31st, but could we do a little something on the 30th just to make sure Dartmouth is aware that it happens here within our town? And it was important to get that message out. Of course, when we said we do it, then we got a call from New Bedford that said, do you mind if we join you? And then Fairhaven and as far out as Rochester and Acushnet have come to join us tonight. It was really the coalition of everybody coming together that got all the resource tables here, that offered rides and got folks to come in from sober living houses, and really spoke to the sober living community about coming in and sharing. As we've had speakers tonight, they've lost friends to addiction, and many of them may put up the luminaries up in the stadium. We've also encouraged folks to tell their story to DCTV, and we're going to be going out and asking folks in Dartmouth to come into DCTV and tell their story with some photographs of their loved one. The message really is to those that are still with us, that there is solutions, that there's reasons to embrace life without that, without addiction, without that stigma. And if it's a comorbidity and you need support, there's avenues to get that support. You just have to ask. So please, whoever's out there listening, I really do worry about those folks who maybe use recreationally, and may say, well, marijuana is legal. If you're not buying it at a dispensary, you're buying it on the street, it may be laced with something that you don't want to ingest. And sadly, folks are losing their life on just that one line of coke, on that one puff of marijuana. And it doesn't have to be that way.
Hi, I'm Reverend David Lima from the Interchurch Council of Greater New Bedford. I'm also the Police Department Chaplain for the City of New Bedford, as well as working with so many people in harm reduction and doing work to help people in substance use disorder and a variety of other things. It affects all of us, and that's the one thing that we were trying to express tonight, is here to support the families of loved ones, friends that have lost somebody to substance use, and even more so to the families and friends who are right now fearful of losing somebody that they care about. You may know somebody, and that's the whole point. I don't care who you are, whether you're coming from the toughest neighborhoods in the city to some of the most affluent neighborhoods in the towns. All of us are affected by this. Nobody is spared the pain of suffering that happens when people use substances. Some people are using it for a variety of reasons. There are many that are using it because it's undiagnosed mental health issues and they're self-medicating. Some people because they went to the dentist, had a molar pulled, and all of a sudden was prescribed something that they became dependent on, and then all of a sudden addicted. Whatever the reason, nobody wants to be this. Nobody wants to live a life of fear and need of such something that it kind of totally takes over your life. And so we say to you, we say to everybody here, there's help, there's hope, and there's someone always that you can turn to and call. We're not trying to tell you how to live your life, but we're telling you we want you to stay alive. And so please ask for help if you need it, and know that people care about you, because each one of us is precious. Every life, yours included. Thank you.